No, but his lead-out men, Bernie Eisel and Mark Renshaw, both seemed bullish on his behalf when we spoke to them yesterday. 203.5 kilometres today, looping out from and back through Dusseldorf for a last goodbye before heading for the Belgian border. One early and one late climb, both small and nothing that should get in the way of the expected flat, fast finish in Liège. Now, the first break of the Tour went right after the flag drop, the best placed man in it being Cannondale Drapac's Tailor Phinney, making his Tour debut at the age of 27 after some terrible luck with injuries. He started the day 17 seconds off the lead, which pretty much doomed the break from the outset because it meant Sky would ride to reel him in even if the sprinters' teams didn't. With him were three Frenchmen on French teams, Thomas Boudard of Direct Energy, Johan Alfredo of Wanty Group Gobert and Laurent Pichon of Fortuneo Oscaro. All of them around a minute and a half down on Geraint Thomas. There were other reasons to ride than just time though, including the first climbing points of the Tour.
This is the battle for one King of the Mountains point. It begins. The battle for the polka dot jersey in Paris. I don't imagine any of these riders will be featuring at the end of 3 weeks, but they can stand on the podium in the polka dot jersey at the end of the day. Thomas Boudard possibly would fancy himself as being the fastest finisher with that track speed in his legs. He moves to the front though, which is probably not where he wants to be. Phinney is going to go for a long one. Phinney on the left-hand side of the road, and they'll all try and latch onto this wheel, but it looks like Alfredo's just being gapped, and the other two are just flat out sprinting, trying to get onto Phinney's wheel, and they won't be able to. Tailor Phinney takes the first King of the Mountains point on the 2017 edition of the Tour de France. Huge crowds here on the outskirts of Dusseldorf to see the American score the first King of the Mountains points, and he is, as things stand, the virtual maillot à pois. Welcome back. Well, what looked like being a relatively straightforward day for the big GC contenders proved to be anything but. A big crash delaying and possibly injuring Romain Bardet and Chris Froome, disrupting things with 30 kilometres to go. Both those big hitters, though, back in the peloton and seemingly moving okay. So, as you were, a bunch sprint still very much the expectation, despite those trials and tribulations. And Chris Boardman has been looking at the final kilometre.
The most striking feature of this first mass finish in the 2017 race is its complete lack of features. Yeah, the sprinters couldn't have asked for a clearer deck. It's flat, it's wide, it's straight. It's even protected from the wind by the surrounding buildings and trees. But it's that complete lack of obstacles that couldn't itself cause a problem. The twists and turns of a running can play their part in stringing out the bunch and giving the fast men room to work. Here, though, it's going to have to be pure power that keeps order in the ranks and prevents the front runners from being enveloped. And with so many fresh legs on day one proper, it could quickly become chaotic. However, the new 3-second rule might mean those days are over, although personally, I doubt it. The team best placed to instill discipline is Marcel Kittle's Quick-Step squad, who must be motivated by his stunning time trial yesterday. He's not going to have it all his own way, though. There'll be the usual suspects lining up to challenge: Bouhanni, Greipel, Matthews, Sagan, and of course Cavendish. In fact, the only thing that could conceivably spice up this civilised streetscape is the weather. It's been showering on and off all day here in Liège, and if there was to be a sprinkling before the riders rolled in, it could make what was already set to be a thrilling finish even more exciting.
10 kilometres remaining then for Johan Alfredo and Tailor Phinney. They've got a 50-second advantage, and they have presented arguably an unexpected problem for the peloton, who are leaving it mighty fine if they're going to catch them. All the sprinters teams at the moment are looking at each other, allowing the GC teams like Movistar and Astana to move to the front, protecting their big hopes, Nairo Quintana and of course Fabio Aru, the Italian national champion, and that indicates that the pace just isn't there and the responsibility isn't being taken by one team and one team alone. Bora Hansgrohe with one rider is sharing the duty of bringing this back, and it is a duty for the big sprinters, with Julien Vermont from Quick-Step Floors, who's been out there all day doing the work for the best part of 200 kilometres, and Vermont won't be exactly fresh, but then neither of these riders will be either.
And that's the point. Vermont, I mean, he's been up there all day. If he's still at the front, that means the peloton's not going faster at the moment. And don't get me wrong, I think it's brilliant for these two, but why none of the road captains, why is nobody at the front realising the danger? And look, it's a tailwind now as well, so that again is in favour of the breakaway. So one of the sprinters teams needs to man up and start putting more riders up there.
Well, one of the sprinters' teams is on the left-hand side of the road there. Simon Geschke, the bearded German rider from Sunweb, and they're getting involved.
It's the GC teams that are taking control, and they're not interested in bringing that break back. They're just up there at pace control and safety. They're raiding safety, keeping their team leaders safe. And yet, look at the sprinters' teams. They're all looking at each other, waiting for one team to take control and start to chase this down.
Well, what's he doing there? I mean, Ignatius Konovalovas is supposed to be working for Arnaud Demar. He's a big engine. He's one of their key riders at this point. He's looking over his shoulder. Oh, well, perhaps he's got a problem himself and a mechanical. No, a rear wheel puncture. Okay, so that explains that. There go the Lotto team, and Andre Greipel has them much closer to the front now.
This is something we saw happen over and over again a couple of years ago, I think, where Lotto kept doing it too early.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of sprinters and a lot of perhaps road captains will know certain teams have certain behavioural patterns, and certain teams do panic in this and do hit out. And at the moment, they all look like they're waiting for one team to crack first to cause it to do the chase needed to bring these two guys back, lose guys, and then compromise their final lead out. But what's happening is that because they're all bluffing each other, they could be putting the stage at risk. Now Lotto again cracks. It's Adam Hansen. So this is what all the other teams were hoping, that one team would crack first, and it's Lotto that have. So Adam Hansen is now doing the big. It's his job to bring that breakaway back. He will not be involved in the lead out. He is now on the chase.
It's still bits and pieces, though, isn't it? It's one rider, Hansen, against two committed riders. So motivated now. 36 seconds, nothing's changing. 5.4k to go, if those time gaps are to be believed. When the road straightens out, though, when they catch a glimpse of them, that might change the dynamic once again. But the kilometres are ticking down, and they are running out of road to bring this back. One rider from Lotto against two. But he's made an instant impact, and it's coming down to about 30 seconds with 5 kilometres to go. It's close.
I tell you who you would think this plays into the favour of is Mark Cavendish, because we know his fitness isn't at its best, and he would have been in trouble if it was a furious big lead-out chase where he's having to spend a lot of energy positioning. But at the moment, he's been able to position quite calmly, not have to spend too much energy, not go too deep in getting to this point. So 5k's out, and he still hasn't had to go really in the red. Is going to benefit him massively with his lesser fitness at the moment. These teams all up here. Now the sprinters teams. Now you see the GC teams are slightly sliding back.
Yep.
Team Sky, that means the pace is up. You can see Kwiatkowski still looking back, doing his bodyguard duty still.
Oh, it's a massive effort from Taylor Phinney. He's the king of the mountains, whatever happens today. And Johan Alfredo, and they've worked brilliantly together. A 2-up time trial trying to hold off this furious chase. 28 seconds. So for the first time now, it comes under 30 seconds. 3.4 kilometres remaining. Over the course of the last 3.5k, they have shaved off 12 seconds. But it's starting to fall, and it's starting to fall fast. And once again, the dynamics of this race tilts the other way. Tony Galopin, who's struggling with that injured left foot, has dropped off the back, but he will finish today, and he'll live to fight another day. His team, though, are thinking about a win for Andre Greipel, and at the moment they're watching the other Belgian team, Quick Step Floors, with a Kiwi heading the affair, try and bring this back, and he's had a huge impact, to be fair. Jack Bauer himself, all on his own, has knocked off 12 seconds over the course of the last kilometre or so of this chase.
And you will have, in each team, you'll have a very strong man who can do that. We saw Adam Hansen started for Lotto's, Jack Bauer for Ethics Quick Step, and Katusha are now moving up, and you can see they're sliding. Jack Bauer is now pulled off. That's his effort done. As I was saying before, the faster it gets, the closer to the end it gets, the shorter the turns, because to produce that much power and go that fast is a massive effort, and you've only got a certain amount that each rider can do.
Oh, look at that. I think the writing might be on the wall, David. It's tumbling now, isn't it? Just 40 seconds for Alfredo and Phinney. And Jack Bauer, the man who's done so much damage to this lead for these two, he himself suffered similar heartbreak on the road into Nîmes 3 years ago on the Tour de France. He knows exactly what it's like for these two riders here to be caught in the closing kilometres, and right now that looks like the most likely outcome. 2.2k to go, only 12 seconds advantage peloton. The bunch sprint firmly back on the cards,
and the roads are dried out now, so any advantage they had regards the cornering, being able to hold off the peloton through the wet corners, is gone, because the peloton can now carry that speed with momentum through those corners. There'll be no caution. Now you see Demar is sitting very cool up the front there, so he was looking remarkably in control.
Domestique's riders, bits and pieces. Jaco Venter there getting spat out the back. Their day is done. That's Jack Bauer. I think he is cooked now, having done that huge effort to bring it back. 1.6k to go for Taylor Phinney and Johan Alfredo. They gave it a really good go, and they have scared the peloton. Make no doubt about that. That was a close call. They're going to be caught, though, and then the bunch sprint is going to unfold. It's over, I think, for Phinney and Alfredo, and they know it as they dip down alongside the river here in Liège and through a tunnel. We might just lose sight of them as the signal gets lost under this tunnel, but when they come up into the sunshine now in Liège on these dry roads, the bunch sprint is going to unfold. Oh, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? So close. A 202-kilometre stage. Phinney's the king of the mountains at the end of the day. Alfredo, though, will end up with nothing except the notable achievement of making the peloton work. Tish Pinot picks things up.
Yeah, the Lotto leader has now begun. You can see they really are laying down. But Dimension Data's Mark Renshaw is sitting in the middle of the peloton there, looking behind, making sure he's got Mark Cavendish. So Dimension Data are doing what they've done in the past. They're doing a very dynamic lead out. They're not using many teammates. They're just relying on Mark Renshaw to really set this up. And there you go, there's Bernie Eisler. Bernie Eisler has just managed to make it up, I think, but no, it's all down to Mark and the two Marks.
Mark Cavendish is there, right where he needs to be. At the moment, though, Peter Sagan's team on the left-hand side of the road have the front of the race. Bora Hansgrohe with one or two riders. There's the world champion. Alongside him, Nasser Bouhanni and Arnaud Demar as well. 2 or 3 wheels further back in about 7th or 8th place on the left-hand side of the road. Mark Cavendish, they're all there, all grouped together. Andre Greipel is about to open up his sprint, the German champion, alongside Dylan Groenewegen. Take your pick. Who's going to win? It could be anyone's race. Ben Swift is in the mix too. There goes Andre Greipel. There's Peter Sagan. Sagan powering to the line. Sonny Colbrelli, there it is. Sonny Colbrelli has the front of the race at the moment. Kittel hits the front. It's going to be Marcel Kittel who takes the win of the Tour de France. Left Germany. A German wins in Liège. They were all there. They were all closely grouped. That was a royal battle amongst the very best in the world. And once again, Marcel Kittel has triumphed on the first of these 9 sprinters tests on the Tour de France in thrilling circumstances.
But obviously it's going to be emotional for him after leaving Germany today. This is big. So he had a tough year last year. This is you can see that, you can read it completely.
Double digits now for Marcel Kittel on the Tour de France. That is win number 10.
Meanwhile, the most high-profile victim of mass pile-up number 1 on this year's Tour looked pretty much unscathed as he warmed down, something he confirmed to Daniel Friebe.
Yeah, no injuries, thankfully. Just lost a little bit of skin on my backside. Yeah, I think that's the nature of the race. I mean, we knew it's slippery conditions like that. Every time you put the race numbers on, you know there's a big risk something could happen. And today there was just a touch of wheels, or someone slid just a few wheels ahead of me, and at those speeds you just can't avoid it. So I think a few of us went down, but thankfully everyone's okay and got to finish all right without losing any time to our rivals. So that's the main thing.
Let's check the result then, having checked the health of the defending champion. Kittel, Demar, Greipel was the 1-2-3, with Cavendish a creditable 4th given his lack of racing. Ben Swift was 7th behind Sonny Colbrelli and ahead of Nasser Bouhanni. Peter Sagan in 10th picked up his first points in defence of his green jersey. The overall favourites were all in the main field on the same time. We didn't see whether there were any gaps of under 3 seconds in it to ensure that was the case, but no big crash at the finish at least. After nearly pulling off a start-to-finish escape, Taylor Phinney and Johan Alfredo were 146th and 148th. Of course, Phinney by then knew he'd be on the podium as the first King of the Mountains leader, and afterwards gave one of the great off-the-wall post-race interviews to Matt Rendell, which is so long there was no way we could get it into the show, but it's well worth checking out on the website. Marcel Kittel took the green jersey thanks to his stage win, as well as 10 bonus seconds that move him to within striking distance of the yellow jersey. Although such was the lack of organisation, he had to freelance to do it.
Our lead-out wasn't perfect, I have to admit that, but other lead-outs were also not existent. So we tried to do the best out of it, and I think every sprinter was on his own today, and my advantage was that I could come relatively late from the back and jump from wheel to wheel and then go with speed and pass everyone else.
You had a great time trial yesterday. No win for you, no win for Germany in Germany. In what frame of mind did you leave Dusseldorf this morning, and how much was that a factor in your determination to really make this count?
My biggest goal for this Tour de France was to win this stage today. And that happened, so that makes me very proud. But I also really tried to enjoy the whole atmosphere. I think it was incredible. Everyone that who thinks now that cycling in Germany is dead. I think we proved him wrong altogether, all the fans that were there today, and that even although the weather was not so great. So I have to say a big thank you to all the fans, and it was a really, really fantastic day, and of course great when it also ends with a victory.
I can only be happy. The team were good. Bernie, Scott Thwaites, his first tour, he was wicked. Bernie, typical Bernie eyes were just strong there in the final, and like they were with us. And our other debut, Yaku, he was riding brilliant at the front actually, like a guy who's been doing many Tour de France's. So actually, like, okay, you always want to win, but like I said, like actually fourth in a tour stage is really a lot better than I expected.
There was some light shuffling at the top of the standings overall, but nothing seismic. Geraint Thomas still has 5 seconds over Stefan Kung, with Kittel now up into 3rd place ahead of Vasil Kirienka. Chris Froome is still 12 seconds back. Taylor Phinney is up to 11th without gaining time on Thomas. The other favourites are all where they were this morning in terms of time gaps. Luke Rowe, though, lost nearly 14 minutes after coming down, then being left behind in the post-crash Sky Chase. He's now 193rd. So they got both ends of the classification staked out, Sky, as Geraint Thomas takes the leader's jersey into day 3.
Gee, well, you've successfully defended the jersey, but what a day that was. Just talk us through.
Yeah, obviously it was as stressful as ever, being first road stage of the tour, and obviously the bad weather conditions didn't help, and obviously the little tumble, we had about 30k to go, but we were all in decent position, top 10, 15, and yeah, some guys just went down in front of us, and there's kind of no way you can go then, but all was okay. Froome had to obviously change your bike, but yeah, it's all good, and a nice bonus to keep the jersey for another day.
Absolutely, and in keeping the jersey for another day, you passed Tom Simpson, Sean Yates and Mark Cavendish as British jersey wearers. How does that feel?
No, I'm going to tell Cav about that tomorrow. But no, obviously that's for sure it's a nice bonus, and yeah, it's certainly enjoyed today, and even though it was sketchy and not very nice conditions, it was definitely a boost of morale having the yellow.
Was there just a split second when you thought, Froome is down, I better wait?
No. Oh, he's got 7 other guys to wait for him at the moment, but no, yeah, I knew we all knew he was okay. It was just a matter of just getting back, and the pace wasn't, it wasn't like full gas at that point, so